to my channel. I am Danilia Bostito, also known as D. So this is Truth About D. So I'd like to tell you today the story of why I homeschool. It seems like all these things that really God has called me to has really put me at odds with the people that I've always been closest to. The first calling, of course, just to be saved and to follow him has taken me, lost a lot of friends, family don't come over as much as they used to, and things have changed because I'm following Jesus, and darkness and light really don't have fellowship together. But not only that, I realize I'm not really a Democrat, and I am a conservative Republican, and there's that. And so no doubt these people will fall off because of that, but I have to be true with the way that God has called me, and he's just recently given me this boldness to just be real about who I am. So you'll see a lot of these truths about D, and in reality these truths have really put me in a place where everything that I know has changed. And but that's the first time I ever heard of homeschooling. And yeah, I mentioned how God has brought me really away from some things. If you've not seen my testimony, it's right there on my homepage. You can go check it out, or on my family YouTube, Bostito Moving Up Vlogs. You'll find it on there as well. I have a link in the description for you. But God called me out of super darkness in my mind, my heart. I was just really in a bad place. Thank Jesus, though. He came down and got me right where I was at, and he's just been growing me along since then. And part of that was my children's education. They were in a public school system. I saw nothing wrong with it. As time progressed, my family's on fire for the Lord. I got right with God, completely committed to him and church and faithful in service however I can, bringing my family along. We're doing home Bible study, everything. I'm just committed 100 to the Lord. And in that, my children also are. I mean, they're in their Bibles, they're carrying them with them to school and everything, and just talking about Jesus as much as possible. If there's an opportunity, they're doing it. And I seen very quickly that the school began to blow out their lights. They were not. Some teachers said they weren't allowed to bring their Bibles. Other ones, discouraged them. Said little things to prevent them. My oldest daughter at that point was in 5th grade, and she was just a really good student. She still is. She just built like that, and she just excels academically, and she was at the top of everything. She had the most points, for grades, for character, behavior, everything. She was at the top, received every award. However, she never one time got Student of the 9 weeks, not once, because of the way that she would go into her class and light up for Jesus. And her teacher would often tell her, that is for Sunday school, or that's for church. Like they were being squashed out right there, first year of us really dedicating ourselves to the Lord, 2013. That next year, 2014, I had a student going into the 9th grade high school and one going into middle school, 6th grade. And I believe that God did call me that year to homeschool, but I didn't. I won't lie, fear definitely had the best of me. I did not, of course, think that I can't homeschool my kids. Are you crazy? I'm going to be totally 100%. It's going to be on me whether these kids learn and grow and make something out of their lives. Like, I don't want that. However, I seen that year that, my goodness, I wish I would have followed God's leading to homeschool. The curriculum was there for me, for at least them two. But I saw what was happening the first year of them being squashed out. 100% was going on that next year. I mean, they were becoming to have a love of the world. was beginning to plague them. And I was like, whoa, I can't have this. And education standards are low, I think, in our public schools, at least. But not only that, and not all schools, please hear me out, not all schools have low standards. Not all students, it doesn't even matter what the standards are, they can excel no matter what. And I'm thankful that there are people like that. But as a whole, it seems as if our school systems are gearing toward a test that they're going to have to take. And so kids are just learning facts, and if it doesn't have to do with a fact or something like that, it doesn't matter. So I found that my kids were learning facts, but they couldn't really think. There was no thinking behind it, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that big time. I'd rather my kids be able to think and have good character, and that academic stuff will happen naturally. So they don't have to learn facts. Facts aren't what's important. But that's just me. So that year I took advantage of the curriculum that I had for my two middle school, high school students. And I thought I would just keep the rest of my kids. They're okay in public school. Again, I just trusted the public school system at that time. And I just did the two high schools, which was hard. I mean, it's hard homeschooling, and I'm new at it. Of course, I think I'm failing, and I didn't want to put all of my kids in there. There's a lot, and at that time, by that next year, I'd had another child, so there's 7 of them now, and I have a baby, a little infant to take care of as well, feed, take care of, and make sure she doesn't get hurt, while I'm homeschooling a high school and middle school. So it was really hard, really tough by myself. My husband worked a lot. So I'm thinking, no. However, you can't ignore God's calling. You know what? When He puts a period, don't try to put a question mark. I learned that. So He, somehow, somebody from Colorado, a family from Colorado, sends 2 giant, probably way more than 2 giant boxes, lots of curriculum to my door. Is how it happens, from a friend of a friend of a friend or something. Just God. It's a God thing, right? I end up with curriculum for all grades. That does not happen. I mean, we're talking at least $1,000 worth of curriculum for free given to me. That was God saying, okay, it's time. Take all your kids out of public school. And so I did. So not only though was it God's calling on my life, like as I'm doing it, I'm seeing more and more the benefits. My family and I, my kids and I were having, maybe 2 hours a day together after all the school and the homework and the responsibilities that would happen. We might have an hour or 2 where we can talk and I can find out about their day. And by that time they're tired, and they don't want to talk, and so that was terrible. I have more time with my kids. I have more influence on them, which is the biggest thing right there. The Bible says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. He's talking about the things that you learn from me, you're to teach to your kids at all times. That's what all those different times, that's all throughout the day. So I know it's God's calling. He gave me them verses way early on, and I could stand on them knowing that this is what God wants for me. And yeah, sometimes it's very difficult, but it's definitely the purpose that God has for me. And I get to mold not only their minds, but especially their hearts and their character. Education is important. Their academics are important, absolutely. But the character that I get to be a part, the character that they were learning in the public schools was atrocious. It was atrocious. They were learning about things that I didn't even want them to know about yet. They were coming home talking about things. I'm like, why do you know that? But public school is just saying things and teaching things that I don't want my kids knowing about. And by the way, they're also teaching wrong things and calling them dumb for thinking that God created. I have a very, very, very hard problem dealing with that. I can't deal with that. I won't deal with that. I will not. Martin Luther King said that intelligence and character is the goal of education. You need intelligence and character. And I don't think you get that in public schools. You might get some intelligence, but you're not going to get good character from a public school. And me as a Christian, I'm trying to raise my kids with truth as the foundation, a true foundation that when they get out into the world that's going to go against them, it's going to be a battle for them, that they have a good enough foundation that they can stand. Because like 75 to 85% of our kids, of our Christian children, don't come back to church. They leave the church. They don't know what they believe. They don't know why they believe what they believe. They just don't have the foundation. And I think a lot of that's because we're not taking care of their education. And yes, I'm trying to make, and the truth that I'm trying to convey is that, especially if you're Christian, but I think all parents need to have a real interest in our children's education, what they're learning, how they're growing. Because look, their thoughts will become their words, which will become their actions, which will become their habits, which leads to their character, which of course is going to lead to their destination, their future. And if we can get all the way back to the thoughts, what goes into their minds, right, then we have a better chance of like pointing the arrow, the bow and arrow, at the destination that we want. And I want the future, I want my children's future to be of serving the Lord. And so I can point them towards that best I can. And God can do things that I can't do. He stands in the gap, thankfully. I don't have to worry about it too much because I know it's His calling. I know He'll make a way. So anyway, that's a bit of why I homeschool. I'll probably share more later on. I'm not thankful for the call. I would have never thought that I would homeschool my kids. I would never think for a million years that this is where I would be. But God has showed me there's this person inside of me that I never knew existed, and He has nurtured this person and is growing this person, and I'm thankful for it because this person gets to nourish young minds, my children, to be prayerfully somebody that they would never guess is inside of them. And so I hope that maybe someone, just one person today, would consider what you're doing with your education, with your children, and is it going to lead to the future that you want them to have? May you be blessed with truth today.